It's gonna get done one way or another.
I think it might be working. Oh. Okay. Finally working. It's saying it's live, but when I'm looking at it on my... Oh, there you go. Okay, I think we're live. It's working.
Yay! Should I restart?
Okay. Yes. I am so sorry.
Do you want to restart? No. Do you want to restart
Sure.
and you say yours first? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, as everybody knows, I'm Julie with the Academy of Logic and Light, and I am here today with Taylor with the Human Energy Field, and she is with the Earth to Taylor podcast that's here on YouTube. So,
I'm glad to be here today. We've talked about, a lot of stuff back and forth lately, but I really enjoy talking about the biofield, which a lot of people kind of know it as, I was saying a second ago, your aura. I feel like that's just like the easiest thing that people have sayings, they lost aura, or, you could feel their aura when they walked into the room. The more you look into it, it is actually a scientifically backed study thing that people have been looking into, honestly, since ancient times. There's been a lot of like spiritual relationships towards the biofield, but the more you look into it now, there's also studies coming out about it. More ways that with technology that's emerging, more ways that we can actually scan your biofield and visually see it, which is insane to me. Like people are even going to get their, aura pictures done, but in reality, like those pictures say a lot more sometimes than what people think. Like they just think like, oh, like this is just like my colors. Like, no, it is a lot more informational than people understand. And what's crazy to me is like it really started with me, in general. I feel like a lot of us, when we really start to get more spiritual, it's after we've gone through traumatic things. And for me, it really led me to such a specific niche of once I started to understand just like human energy and looking into Reiki, and then understanding like how there is, all kinds of technology now that we can see the biofields. I thought it was insane that there's certain patterns. I don't know if you ever saw a movie, K-pop Demon Hunters.
oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. So thinking about the patterns, like that whole movie is such a great, just like metaphor for what is actually going on with us as humans. Me personally, just thinking about we as humans, when we feel shame, fear, guilt, or things that we've gone through, maybe trauma from childhood, it actually produces patterns that are replicable in multiple people's biofields that you can see, whether it's sexual trauma, physical abuse, anything that has gone on from childhood to adult, even in utero. If something happened to you when you were inside of your mom's stomach, it can be in your biofield, which is, it just
Ancestral
like blew
trauma.
my mind. Yes, like it is, there's intergenerational trauma that can come out in your biofield when you hit certain ages. That trauma happened at certain ages to your ancestors, which is insane to understand. And then understanding that the more studies that I read about it, like it's the past, present, and future. So your biofield is an informational matrix. So it's not just an aura, it's not just pretty colors. It is the information of you, who you are, what you've gone through from the time you were a fetus up until now, And even crazier is the more studying I did, they can see future things in your pattern before it kind of like downloads into your body. So there was a woman named Valerie Hunt. There's a couple books I'm going to recommend throughout this, but The Energy Codes by Sue Morter, such a good book. And she talks about Valerie Hunt, who worked at UCLA, and she was big on understanding the human biofield and scanning X amount of people just to see like across the board, like what correlates with what certain patterns, just seeing what people go through. And one thing that always stood out to me when I was reading about Valerie Hunt's work was seeing that, let's say they could see a disturbance really close to the physical field around an ankle. A couple days later, that person would break their ankle, or a couple of like tears where it looked like rips in the field. A couple days later, they would get in a car accident. Not to say that it was predicting it, but saying that it was downloading from the informational field into the physical, which is insane to understand that there's kind of a leeway before it happens to you. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, the more I read, even in the energy codes, it has to do with your emotional thought processes, your thoughts, your everything gives off frequency. So even in my right here in my slides that I was going to try to put in here on the basics of what is a biofield, just if you want to take notes, you can. If people don't want to, that's fine. I just want people to understand like the basics of how it works. So it's an electromagnetic subtle energy field that surrounds and interpenetrates the human body, meaning it is penetrating you through your chakra system, which relates to endocrine glands. I know you've had people on here that have talked about that before, but it also surrounds you. So this is how you could walk past somebody and in a bad way, the back of the hairs on the back of your neck could stand up because you could just sense something's off. Or you could walk past somebody, or even just thinking about like, if we in totality, everybody has a field of energy around them, and Earth has its own biofield, its own energy field around them. We are all contained in an informational matrix together. So this is how people can pick up on other people's information, because we are all contained within that same informational field. So a lot of people, like I said, they refer to it as the aura, but it does interact with external fields like your environment, people, technology even. That's like the more, I don't want to use the word scary, but just like understanding what we're up against in terms of like technology and frequencies that are all around us. That sounds so woo-woo, but when you look into more studies that are emerging, it's not woo-woo. This is very much real, and it affects us. And there's studies that they can take a picture of your field before and after you're exposed to certain EMF frequencies, and it messes with it. So also your field, your biofield interacts with your fascia and your energy centers and gene activation, meaning the other book that I want to recommend is Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, where he talks about your thoughts give off frequencies, your thoughts produce the emotions, your emotions can change your gene expression and call for things to happen to you, good or bad, which is insane to understand that. But a lot of times in like spiritual references, though, the biofield, it reflects or represents your physical, your emotional, your mental, and your spiritual state. So that's why sometimes in those aura pictures, you see kind of multiple colors in different areas, because there's multiple layers to your biofield. In the past too, people like Reiki, Qigong, or like people refer to it as Qi. This is where people talk about energetic healing and kind of how to balance yourself out. I wish I could show you this picture, but maybe I'll just turn the computer to where everyone can see it.
We're like that today.
We're going to do it super old school since it's not working. Okay, we tried.
Nothing will stop us.
So you can kind of see right here, it's a picture of like all the different colors that are going on around her and in her body. And then this is just like to show you the basics. And then this is like a field that is not coherent. And this is more like of a coherent field where you see it's like very robust, if that's a better word for it. So how does this work? This is where I was like, okay, if this is real, I need to know everything. I'm a Gemini moon, 12th house Gemini moon. I need to know why things are the way they are, especially if it's something that interests me. So the body is electromagnetic. All of our bodies are electromagnetic. Your nervous system has electrical impulses. Your heart, think about getting an EKG, that's an electrical impulse. And then your brain waves. Those are measurable electric frequencies. So getting an EEG, these are all things that are just measuring. When people say everything is made of frequencies, you as a human are made out of frequencies. So there's other researchers like Fritz Albert Popp, which I had heard. It's so crazy to see things back from like my school days come back in another sense of like things I actually care about, and not things that just like was in one ear and out the other. But he was researching how human cells, they emit biophotons. So there's pictures I'll show in a second too, where you are giving off these tiny particles of light that fill up this informational matrix around you. And it's 1% matter. And they used to think, oh, it's like 99% like empty. It's information that is held inside of those cells. And then also learning that your DNA stores and emits light information. So that's how your genes can communicate from 17 generations back that we were talking about a second ago, all the way to now. Hey, the day you turn 17, there's a book called The Journey of Souls. And he talks about all these people that he did case studies on, and basically finding out that some people are dealing with things in their present physical reality that are actually the exact same things that happen. Like one kid, it was a 17-year-old where he got insomnia one night in college, ended up like losing his college scholarship. He was playing baseball, all kinds of things happening to him. He couldn't sleep. He was shivering. Come to find out, 2 generations prior to them, his great uncle had died the night he had turned 17, or the day before his 18th birthday, because he was like an electrician or fixing something on an electric line. There was a snowstorm. Basically, he died. And that trauma of that story from him was embedded into the genes of the family, went all the way down to a great nephew. And the night he turned 17, could not sleep for like 3-4 months, had to go back home, had to figure out, why is this happening to me? And basically after they started really looking into like family history, your genes also, we as humans, we don't realize that sometimes we think it's just something wrong with us, or that we just inherently are doomed for something to happen to us. You are dealing with not only technologies and, you know, frequencies all around you, but you're also dealing with your own intergenerational trauma that is in your DNA. But your biofield, with this research from people like Joe Dispenza or Sue Morter from the Energy Codes, they're talking about how you have a lot more power than you've been led to believe. And it's ultimately understanding that your biofield is basically like your own personal hologram. Like, it is what is calling and communicating from your cells, your tissues, out into the informational matrix all of the time. So learning about this, I was like, okay, like, what have they seen in these studies? They show that light emissions change with stress and health. So meaning you're stressed out, it lowers. Your health is declining, it's lowering, right? And then the more you believe that your health is declining, the more you get stuck in that mindset of like, oh my gosh, like, it's only going to get worse, or I'm never going to get better, or bad things always happen to me. We become, which, you know, as somebody who has a Pisces stellium, definitely victim complex, where it's like, I had to work out of like, life is not happening to me. I have to take the wheel and understand that I am in control of my reality, and whatever is coming up for me, it's supposed to happen for me. Even if I don't want it to happen to me, I have to allow myself to flow through that, because it doesn't matter. If it's in your reality, it's happening to you for a reason, no matter how horrific it is. Things happen to us all the time to really help us understand like what we need to work through, whether from generations back or your own personal choices or things that have just happened to your parents. It doesn't matter what it is. It just proves and shows that the more we understand that there is a mystical thing about us as humans, we are we're a lot more magical, and there's science now to back it up than we've been led to believe. So now there's also emerging studies showing that biophotons can help regulate cellular communication, which is insane to me. And then we're going to old school it again. I want to show the pictures. Oh, wait. Oh, hold on. Wait, let's go back. That way you can see at least like what they kind of look like. This right here.
And then I have a question for people.
So that's somebody's hands, and that was after they took the photo. And these are the biophotons that are off of the hand. So this is the hands, regular hands, and these are like the biophotons. Then this is the picture that they took, and then without it being there, that's like a shrimp, I think. Those are like the biophotons around it. And then you can see tiny particles of light of the picture of that guy, and then where the biophotons are most focused at, like right in his head area. You can see all of those right there, which is insane. What are we talking about? All right, what was your question going to be?
Here we go. From Engineer Babu 1948, how to keep others biofields away in today's fast-moving world where people are concerned about their body shape, food habits, sleeping habits, right medicine. How can we not bother about biofield?
So technically, if you are around other people, you're interacting with people's biofield. So it's not about not interacting with people's biofields. It's about regulating yourself, which I'll talk about that in a second too. The more coherent your biofield is when they're doing these studies and scanning people's biofields, they can see things cannot interpenetrate it when it is very robust and strong. And you can think about like when we talk about putting boundaries up, you having an energetic boundary, not just like saying that as a woo-woo topic, like, oh, I have an energetic boundary. No, like the more boundaries you have within yourself and you stand on that, you're practicing, we'll talk about that in a minute, self-regulating techniques, which sounds mundane, but breathwork, meditation, all of these things have been shown in brain scans and in biofield scans that it strengthens it to where when you're walking by somebody and you're interacting with somebody that may have a weakened biofield or may, this is how they say there's energy transference no matter who you're talking to. If you are strong and can withhold and you're doing your regulation techniques, it's not going to bother you at all. So it's not necessarily about not interacting. Everybody has a biofield. You know what I'm saying? You can't not go to work or not see people. It's about how to strengthen your field, because whenever they show too in these scans that when somebody's field is that strengthened, it can help regulate other people's fields to strengthen. So if anything, it's not about like, oh, I got to protect myself against this person. That's making yourself like small, making your energy field small. It's actually about making yourself bigger to where when you walk into a room, this is another thing I had to get used to, is that When your energy is felt like that, it's going to do one of two things. You're either going to push people away immediately because they feel very small and they don't like it when they sense somebody that is very robust in their own energy. But there's going to be people that know they need to be near you for some reason, or that they need to ask, people sometimes will be like, oh, like what it is, like there's something different about you. It's not that there's anything different about me. It's that I understand who I am. I regulate myself. I understand no matter where I'm at, if I'm at work or if I'm with my kids or if I'm out at a store, I want people to feel good around me to where I am helping other people strengthen their energetic fields versus just trying to protect myself from theirs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I also invite people to like play with your biofield. So
Yeah.
I'm a flight attendant. I work in an airport.
Oh yeah, you're dealing with people all the time. Yeah.
I play. So sometimes it'll go to work and I'll be like, okay, I'm putting an energetic bubble today that looks like roses. I'm an inviting energy. I bring compassion where I go. People want to ask me questions.
Yes.
I'm the person people come up to. They know I speak Spanish somehow, which is crazy. And then I'll play with it. Yeah. And then I'll play with it and I'll completely go invisible. My invisibility is insane. People will literally walk right into me. They'll be looking at my face and they're like, where's Julie? And I'm like, I'm literally right here.
Yes,
but you can also do protective layers. Too.
Yes. Where if you're in a situation where you feel like you're dangerous, especially like us as women, if I am going somewhere at nighttime and I'm by myself, because obviously you're emitting light, you know what I'm saying? You can also call that light back to you to where it's in here, but you're not as like visible to people. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Like even driving sometimes, this is a dumb one, but if you feel like, oh, there's a cop right there, literally, visually, if you say like, I want to shield my car, I want to be invisible, like from any type of law enforcement, you know what I'm saying? Obviously you want your car to be visible and protected, so you're shielding it regardless, but it can work, because another thing that they found is conscious intention. Follow your biophotons, follow where your conscious intention is at. That's how, when you're doing certain meditations, if you meditate on a specific area of the body, biophotons will follow to that part of your body to help waken it back up or realign your chakras or whatever it may be, especially when you've gone through trauma and there might be certain blockages. Even your intention will follow that. So like you said, when you're out in public, if you feel like you need to be invisible for something, sometimes our consciousness is telling us subconsciously, today you don't need to be talking to a whole lot of people. And it might be because there's somebody you shouldn't have talked to that day, or it might be because you avoided a situation as a whole that was not meant for you to experience, So I just always say that it's not, honestly, it's kind of about like what you're feeling every day. When I wake up, I immediately do, in the Energy Codes by Sue Morter, she says, do like a body scan where you're laying in your bed. Like before I even get up, touch my phone, look at anything, try to do the chakra visualization, which, she talks about it in there, where basically you're going from red to violet and you're going through each color. And if you subconsciously skip over a color, you go back to that color and try to imagine, just put your attention there until you can see that color in the area that corresponds with that chakra, because that means something is off, something was, whether it's us working through things or something outside of us, we're bombarded with stuff regularly every day. You're a human, you're going to experience life. It's going to happen. And it's not about avoiding things happening all the time, but it's that if you feel that day, like, oh, like it's just as easy as like, if you feel like you got to text somebody at some point randomly and you don't know why, and you text them, they're like, oh, I was just thinking about you. Like, our subconscious knows if we're in this informational field, we know when we're supposed to be seen or not seen, or talk to somebody or not talk to somebody. And that's when we gotta, if your chakras are aligned, that solar plexus, you trust your gut and you go with your gut. It's going to help you immensely, no matter what you're going through, whether it's job, relationships, family members, just being in a grocery store, So another part of it, though, that when I was working through like how all this works, was learning about fascia. So learning that your fascia is kind of like the magical, I say magical, but obviously it's scientific and they're learning so much more about it now. So basically your fascia is a continuous connective tissue network that surrounds and connects every structure in your body. So structurally, it's going to hold your muscles, your organs, your nerves, your vessels, and it's a whole entire like integrated system within our body. So it also is responsive, though, to movement and pressure. So even if you're like a little bit away, it can also remove to just like the intention of like light, there's people that you can do like fascia release videos, like go and look into it, and you do it like all the time. What? Yeah, EFT tapping. Yes. because there's certain nerve systems, like main, just think of like a computer where there's like nodal points in that computer. When you're tapping or when there's like main hubs of it, you're helping release some of that tension that's in there. So then it also has electrical signaling, because inside of your fascia, there's collagen, it has piezoelectric properties. So chronic stress and trauma, though, it can cause your fascia to, oh yes, literally, exactly. I need you to send me a picture of that.
This is just in my house. Here's the
but it's nice to have it right there so you can always like remember what's that. Oh wow. Wow.
I got you.
I love that. I need to have that up to where I can just remember, because sometimes it's like we just get overwhelmed with life and we forget there's very mundane things we can do daily. Breath work, EFT tapping, meditation, mainly, you know what I'm saying? Visualization, that we could do daily, that are just literally, science is showing that it is going to strengthen that biofield to where nothing's interpenetrating. And if anything does show up in your reality, it was supposed to be there because there's something that's still stuck in your body that hasn't been worked through. So after learning about fascia, basically it's just saying that if the body's producing electrical signals, whether through your nerves, your brain waves, fascia is contributing to the organization of those signaling patterns that are reflected through your body's magnetic field. So basically your genes are communicating with the fascia, right? And the fascia is communicating with the electromagnetic field around it. So it's literally like a communication system in every layer, downloading into, whether it's diseases, tumors. There are so many things that they are finding out that relate, and studies that are coming out, like double-blind studies that are very scientific, that are showing what people have talked about for ancient history is actually very real, very true, and it's something you can work with without having, you don't have to pay $1 million to go to a special doctor. You can start working on this yourself at home. You don't need me to tell you what to do. Your body will know what you need. You will subconsciously, it'll start bringing it up to you. Like, and I feel bad because some people think like, oh my gosh, like, what do I need to do to protect myself? Like, I understand there's a lot more things you could do, yes, to protect your home, to do this, to do that, whenever it comes to like EMF frequencies and things like that. Because a lot of people get caught up on like understanding new age technology and the things that we're up against. But if you just do the mundane stuff every day first, that's more than half of the problem already, because your biofield is strengthened enough to where you don't have to worry about it. Like it's not going to affect you as much it will the next person that is not conscious at all of their own energetic field. Because I feel like, how can you even strengthen a field if you don't? They've made us believe that that's your aura is just, oh, that's nothing, like that's just like something woo woo people say. No, now people that are actually studying this, that have been interested in it, that haven't been, swooned away from it, now they're doing these studies and these tests to realize like, oh my gosh, like we can subconsciously control it if we can get a hold of our own thoughts and our own emotions about it. So I was talking about earlier too, like frequencies and how even light works as frequencies. So to me, understanding that, just the basics, that is, you obviously know everything in the universe is vibrating all the time. Me, you, this chair. I'm just not falling through the chair because we're vibrating at different frequencies right now. And light and sound, they're traveling through waves, and light is on a spectrum of electromagnetic frequencies. And we as humans, even though we kind of understand this, if you understand like the blue light in your phone, and now we're seeing all these studies come out about like how much it messes us up, and that's why you shouldn't be on your phone an hour and a half before bed at least, or making sure that your eyes see the sun whenever you get up in the morning, because it's giving you certain rays of light that help regulate, or it's dysregulating your body. So sunlight can also regulate your circadian rhythm. Blue light, it does like alertness. So think about if you're on your phone right before you go to sleep, which is something I've been terrible about, that I'm trying to really move myself to like put my phone on a desk away from me so I won't get on it before I'm about to fall asleep. Your brain is so alert right before it falls asleep. And this is why it's hard for a lot of us to fall asleep. And then we get like addicted to that blue light, And then talking about how light also can interact with your hormone or regulation. So like our sleep patterns, or even our mood and mental health. Understanding that everything, we think like if somebody has a mental health issue, like it's just related to one thing. There's so many things in our environment and just energetically what we're not aware of, that we don't know how to fix it, because it's so many things, but also there's very simple things to help cut that off. So like turning off your phone at night, or understanding that if you meditate right when you wake up and right before you go to sleep, subconsciously, that's when your brain is the most open to it, to receive and like pour out things that a lot of times, if you've gone through a lot of trauma or just being a human that's bombarded with stuff all day long, information all day long, you're going to forget about, X amount of things that happened to you that were horrible. Like, I got to deal with that another day. I got to get to work in the morning. I got kid, whatever it is that you're dealing with. But in actuality, it's going to show up in sicknesses. It's going to show up in repeating patterns in relationships, whether your family or your spouse or whoever it is, because your body's your informational matrix is downloading this reality until you listen to it over and over again. So I want to show this too. Us as humans learning this really blew my mind. Only perceive 0.001% of the light spectrum in totality. So this is how, like, if we all could see, infrared light or see all these things, imagine what we would see, whether it's the Wi-Fi, phone, text messages going through, microwaves, you know what I'm saying? Like all the time, we would be freaked out. Or even, spiritually, what would we be seeing out there? I don't think I would want to see it all the time. It's like when you do mushrooms and you're like, oh my gosh, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a lot to take in whenever you're there. Yes, like it's a lot, but obviously like on a day-to-day basis, it's hard to combine those realities if you could see it all. So even though it looks kind of bigger just on there, just for people to see, that tiny little white, it's way smaller than that, because imagine 0.001% in 100% spectrum. That's what we can perceive. So understanding that there is stuff around us 24/7 that our bodies are intaking without us understanding why we're feeling like this today, or what, think about even like data centers that are popping up and the wildlife around them dying. Like, oh, we can't figure it out. You know exactly why they're fucking dying out there. This is why people should protest against, data centers being put up everywhere, because it does have an effect on our energy fields without it being woo-woo or anything. Why do animals die around it? We are animals at our core. We're just more conscious than some of other animals. So then it led me into Joe Dispenza's work whenever I was reading Becoming Supernatural, where he talks about like your emotions have a frequency. So even understanding if you're constantly looping, which is something that I really had struggled with before I started getting into deep meditation, looping thoughts just over and over, especially whether it's traumatic, or if you're a people pleaser, or if you're always aware of what people might think of you or feel about you, or whatever it is, being perceived by people, if it freaks you out, you're constantly looping this feedback of like, oh no, I'm being perceived, or oh no, what did they think, or what did this. You're never going to feel like a confident person walking in a room if you always are being bombarded with what other people are thinking and feeling. And then when I realized like, hey, this is my own informational matrix, and I can kind of cut off. I can tune into it when I want to tune into what people are thinking and feeling, because also I'm very empathetic and intuitive about things. I have an 8th house stellium, a 10th house stellium. I'm a Pisces sun with 4 signs in Pisces. That's a lot of water and a lot of like, I'm feeling whatever. If I see somebody crying, if it's actually sad, I'm going to cry too, but cutting it off to where it's like, unless it's a needed situation, I don't need to be giving out my energy all the time to things that are not strengthening my own energy. So when I started to look into, okay, how are emotions, how do they actually like affect us? Looking at this research from the Heart Math Institute, they talk about how your emotional state changes heart rhythm patterns, which also we've all heard of like broken heart syndrome, when like an elder couple, if one person dies, the other one can die fairly quickly after that. That is a real thing, because genuinely, if you are that heartbroken, it can give somebody a stroke. It can give somebody your state. So technically, yes, you have your biofield, right? And it can extend about 6 feet out of you on average. People who really work on it, you can feel it in a whole room. You know what I'm saying? It can fill up the whole room. But actually, inside of your biofields, your heart has its own toroidal fields in there, and your brain has its own toroidal field. That's how they can kind of see, like on these scans, thought patterns and things like that, or your heart, how it's beating. But your heart fields, they've done studies on people who meditate on the heart center specifically, it grew like 10 times bigger than even their own biofields. So understanding even us as humans, what is the most, highest frequency that can be felt, that can overcome every other horrific, thing that goes on in our world, is love. Truly understanding that, meditating on being heart-centered, and not to say that there's not, righteous anger and all kinds of emotions that we as humans need to feel and go through to really kind of get us to work through our own emotions. understanding that whenever we do move those emotions, going into our heart space and then being like, okay, let's become heart-centered about this. It can be, love is felt more than your own informational field is felt, which is crazy to know. Like, if you are, if your heart is, people know when you're going through something because they can sense it, you know, especially if it's like deep in your heart, you know, in your, a lot of people talk about in like a lot of ancient cultures or ancient spiritualism, they talk about like your heart is actually your true brain. Your brain is more of like the meat sack that's producing the thoughts and keeping the memories and all of those things. But your heart knows the truth, because me personally, I believe we are all conscious, just beings in these bodies, and we come from the same source of consciousness. But at the end of the day, we are all from the same pool of energy. Me, you, the trees, the leaves, we're all just vibrating at different rates inside of different meat suits. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way that every time that I do, anytime that I've ever done mushrooms, I'm like, wow, I'm really in this meat suit right now. This is crazy. Like, I am really here on earth in a meat suit right now. Like, it blows my mind to think about it like that. But I feel like other people are kind of like, yeah, that's true. That's how it feels, you know?
Yeah.
So I learned too, like when they're scanning these emotions, like what's coherent and what's like incoherent, like what emotions. So they said the most coherent emotions are love, gratitude, and compassion. So when you are meditating and you focus on those three emotions right there, it can move many things through your body, whether it's your own shame, your own fear, the fear of what's going on in the world. Not in me personally, I'm a big believer in, we should be frustrated and upset about what's going on in the world, but we have to be regulated in order to build community and do something about it. If you're just angry and pissed off all the time, you're not in your most, not just, you know, highest vibrational state, but you're not in your right mind to even be able to be coherent to do something about it. If you're just so mad, this is when you're mad, you say something you don't mean, or you do something you didn't want to do. If anything, it should help us. We should be becoming more organized. We should be transmuting that anger into being like, okay, in my community, what can I do here? How can I help this person or that person? Or who do I feel like, or even just allowing your subconscious to kind of lead you in a way of like, today, when you're around XYZ person, what do you feel like you should say to them? Or how can you be more loving to the people around you? And it helps create more coherence in other people. I explain it kind of like the light bright boards that we all kind of used to play with when we were little, you know, we
Yeah.
put in a little thing. So imagine it's
Yeah.
just like black at the beginning, but one person starts to become conscious and they start to regulate themselves. And then it makes, slowly but surely, you're building a picture of a whole new, for us to create any type of new system that's not like what we're going through today, it's going to take a lot of imagination, a lot of creativity, and a lot of love, you know, and a lot of loving and doing loving for people that, you know, a lot of us want to see not on this planet anymore, but we have to find a way to create a new system through love, you know? And so even understanding that those emotional states that are considered incoherent, they still are valuable tools. And especially things like anger are the most highest energetic transmutative energies that you can move through to get more direct and precise to how, like, anger is very potent. You can use it to do a lot of things. So whenever they do, you know, they'll scan and they say that anger, chronic stress, and fear, they create erratic, you know, heart rhythms. They shrink your biofields. You don't want to be walking around where anything can interpenetrate your field, whether even just technology, EMF frequencies, or other people bringing you down to where your hologram is going to keep giving you more things to be angry about if you're always angry, you know? So meditating on your anger, working through it, being like, okay, like, the universe has a crazy way of giving us ideas or dreams or whatever it is, channeling through us. One time I was in a meditation and it said something like, just something, whatever. It was just like, you're a conduit. And I was like, what does a conduit even mean? I had to start Googling it. Like, what does that mean? And I had not thought about that since, like, you know, middle school science class. Like, what do conduits even mean? Understanding we are all conduits from higher realms and lower realms. We are the conduits in between that are in this earth, you know, kind of time space continuum right here, where we are the ones that are, whether you are channeling, whether you are, some people don't even, they're not even aware that they're a conduit for something negative. You know what I'm saying? Some people aren't
Oh
even
yeah.
aware that there's just no self-awareness and they're just existing in an egoic space to where they are just taking people's energy and nothing's really building for them that's true, like in love centered. They are just constantly taking energy from other people, not realizing that's a conduit too. We're all conduits, but what are you conduing? You know what I'm saying? Are you conduing from up or are you conduing from down below? because that means if you are constantly taking from other people, you're creating a less coherent area around you, a less coherent community, less coherent family system, less coherent relationship. But the more you root yourself in love and root yourself in like, okay, like what can I control in my space? What can I do in my community? That is how we actually make more movements towards creating a new system as a whole. So understanding that all of these things also influence like our hormones, our immune function. So obviously they want to keep us, the powers that be, whatever you want to call them, the parasitic class, they want you to be stressed out. They want you to be in fear all the time because it makes you easier to get sick. What's that going to do? You're going to go to a doctor. You're going to pay pharmaceutical companies that never want to give you an actual what they don't want so bad, and why they wanted this to be pseudoscience so bad. But now we have people that genuinely have good souls that are here to show that bridge and that leeway, which makes me so happy that we do have people doing these studies, is that you very much have power and control over the source of what these sicknesses, diseases, just bad shit that happens in your life consistently in a pattern, kind of whether something can happen to you from one person from middle school, then it happens again in college, and then it happens again in a relationship. And it's because it's your body trying to tell you, hey, you need to work through this. It's not even about these people or these situations. It's about something in here that you are constantly projecting outwards or producing a frequency outwards to ask it to come towards you. So that's why I'm a big believer in like, you need to feel your emotions, but you have to work through them. Especially, I'm biased, but as women, we have more, something diseases, nervous system diseases. We get more nervous system diseases because we hold in our anger. Men think, women are more emotional, and men don't understand anger is an emotion, and y'all let it out quite frequently. If you look at the state upon the world,
holes in walls, people punch,
literally, like to me, I'm just like
flipping cars.
Exactly, like
women doing that
general statistics. If you look at statistics, no matter what statistic you're looking at, if it's something that has to do with abuse or neglect or whatever, a lot of times men don't understand that they feel like they can't show their emotions, but the only emotion they do show is anger. Not understanding there's an array of other emotions that is behind anger that they can work through. But us as women, it's not socially acceptable to be angry. It's acceptable for us to cry and be sad or be emotional, but it's not acceptable. So women actually have more nervous system diseases. Men do harm themselves at higher rates than women do, but it's because men are taught to be more violent than women are. Social conditioning, we are not even as violent even when we're trying to harm ourselves, because there's a disconnect of like, we still do have, the ability to talk to a group of women, where men think like, oh no, I can't talk to a group of men like that. But that's because they've also been socially conditioned to feel that way too. So understanding that all of these emotions that we hold on to, whether it's from childhood to now, if there is something that's constantly popping back up for you in your life, it is actually your biofield downloading. Imagine it's like you're a sim character, and every time that something happens, it's because your sim specifically has that integrated into their system to have it keep happening to them until you stop for a second. Oh, that's my sister. Hi, Anna. And if you just stop for a second and understand that your body, your biofield is constantly interacting with the fields all around us, with Earth all around us, constantly is in contact. And people think that like, oh, that's just a coincidence. The longer I have lived, I don't believe in coincidences at all, especially with this science emerging. Nothing is a coincidence. Nothing at all. People you meet, places you go, things that happen to you as a child, it is all for your hologram, your matrix, your own virtual reality, for you to kind of awaken. Even the worst of the worst shit you could have gone through. And it's hard whenever you're going through it. And I understand when people are going through the worst times of their lives or have something horrific happen to them. It's hard to kind of like see that and meet that mark of like, okay, like how can I see the love in this? Like, you're not going to see it for a little while, but you need to meditate on that anger you have until you can start getting over there to like, okay, like how do I need to move from this? Like, how can I move not just on, but move through it? Because a lot of people like to spiritual bypass in what they go through. And at the end of the day, it's still going to come back up for you, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. You could be on your deathbed still having the same situation because you never fully worked through it. And I don't know about any of y'all, but me personally, I want to know that by the time I die, I was just situationally aware and at peace with anything that had happened for me from that point on, and starting to have that realization, like in the book, The Energy Codes I talked about, she talks about we live on two sides. It's either your soulful self, or what did she say? Basically, like your egoic self. There's only two sides. So you're either living creatively or you're living in victimhood. You're either living in life is happening for me or life is happening to me. And I have very much been embodying, especially this last year, because I'm such a, I love to learn about things, but embodying is a whole different practice of its own. I could talk all day and learn all day, but until you comprehend the information and embed it into your own brain and subconscious and start working through it yourself, life is still going to keep happening to you in that same way until you get to that point of like, okay, I see that this is happening for me, not to me. And what can I learn from this and what can I take away from it?
Yeah.
So
I think you had a really good point of like basically imagining yourself in your field, but putting yourself in the seat of the driver and taking control of the wheels, and you manifest your reality. Your positive outlook and outcome is what quantum shifts you to that reality. So your thoughts are powerful and they project you to the reality that your thoughts, whatever the emotion is.
exactly.
So be careful what you're asking for, be careful what you're experiencing. Be present and deal with things as they pop up so that you can live a better reality. One that you sit down and dream what that looks like. Some people aren't even doing that. That's crazy. How do you
some
know
people are just so caught up
live?
with their reality in of itself that they want you, capitalism specifically, wants you to be so bombarded with everything that you got to pay your bills, you got to do this, you got to talk to this, they want you to do that so you're not present. And like you said, becoming present every day, it is I remember times going through like depression like episodes to where it lasts for like 6 months and I can't even remember those 6 months because I was just on autopilot, because I kept just thinking like I'm going to be like this forever, like, oh, I've been diagnosed with major depressive disorder since I was little, I'm always going to have it. The truth is that understanding where those thoughts were stemming from to make me depressed, especially when I would be triggered by certain things or things would happen, it was the same cycle repeating itself. And until I met it within myself of like, okay, what is it from that situation that I experienced that now every time I'm triggered by this specific emotion? And that's why meditation is it's for free. You can sit with yourself for an hour a day. You don't, yes, therapy is great. I'm not saying
subscription.
That. Literally free subscription, your own brain. And it will bring up for you. I cry almost every time I meditate because it will bring up, I don't even know what. And I'm like, oh, yep, forgot about that one. Or, and then sometimes there's meditations where I'm specifically meditating to focus on like heightened emotions of like love and just being so grateful and gratitude. Because to me, I understand too now, like working through things is great, but then also meditating on what you do have and seeing the beauty in what you do have around you, whether it's just the sun on your skin, whether it's just because we get so like tired of being in this, a hellscape sometimes that you're just like broken down and you forget about the beauty of the actual world that's around you, because we're just so focused on like, we have a computer in our phone all the time that we are looking at the world wars and the worst thing across the globe or something horrible that happened or somebody that got killed today. It is exhausting to do it. And I still want to be informed, but that means you got to ground yourself every day. Because if I'm in constant fear, my field is going to be shrunken to where I can't manifest correctly, to where things are going to keep happening to me over and over again. So I'm just to the point to where now embodying is such a different practice than just learning. And I feel like people think you have to do so many things, but just starting off with reading about breath work, there's multiple kinds of techniques that you can do, 5 minutes a day, setting that aside, then trying to meditate, all free things that you could do to strengthen that field. To people want to manifest, but if there's trauma stuck in your body, it's going to keep blocking you from it over and over again. And that's something that I've been working through and realizing, like, if you can't sustain the thought of like good things are going to happen for you, you constantly have that subconscious thought of like, nope, like something bad's going to happen, something bad's going to, it will happen. Like you said,
100%.
Like if you are constantly having that thought, emotional looping feedback of I'm not worthy or I'm this or I'm that, you are going to block your own manifestations. You could talk about manifestation and journal all you want, but until you physically move through that, which journal, I feel like also journaling, free, write yourself some prompts. Why do I feel this way? Like you can even go on Pinterest and look up like shadow work journaling prompts.
I've got them. They're down in our Patreon for free, 70 pages, chakra protocol for free. We're about to launch our 9-week chakra reset, like mind, body, spirit reset.
Yeah, I saw your thing. Yeah.
We're doing a thing. But 70 pages is free right now on the Patreon for everyone.
See? Yeah. Resources, like completely free. To me, I'm like, these are things that everyone should take full advantage of. And then when you feel led, you join classes, you do other things to where it's like, instead of focusing on the outside noise, I saw somebody say sometimes you have to log off of free play and lock into story mode, meaning I love free play,
I
don't
like
get me
that.
wrong, and I need a good free play day to just kind of do whatever I want to do, but understanding that like life is still going to go on whether you're in a depression episode or not, whether you are in fear of the world or not. And if you let time keep passing you by, I don't want to leave this earth and feel like I was just stuck in a fight or flight freeze mode because I was so horrified by everything that goes on the planet. We have to lock in sometimes and realize, if you want certain things, and not even just like my desire, I want to be able to be financially free and help people with financial abundance, because I feel like money has been in the hands of a lot of horrific people throughout the years. Whenever money touches my palms, immediately there are things I want to do and how to help and people to donate. And you know what I'm saying? Because to me, think about how many people that are in power that have so much money, and it's because they know that they are allowed to get money. They know, they feel great about themselves. They do not feel shame. They don't feel fear. They don't feel any of those. And that's how they get their money. Literally, that's how they sustain their money. There's also some bad means that they go about doing it. But at the end of the day, they feel good about themselves. And if we, as the constituents, we are made to feel like, oh my gosh, like humans are horrible and we're all like, it's going to block your own manifestations from you being able to touch that own money. So understanding too, for me, like reading about it is one thing, but actually sitting there and journaling, doing your breath work and meditation, all of these things sound like people want some like magic way to fix it in a day. When you start doing these practices daily, you can start seeing results very quickly. You know what I'm saying?
Immediately.
Immediate, like to me, just even meditating in the morning, I immediately see a difference when I do meditate in the mornings, when I don't meditate in the mornings. I can see like, just I can feel it too. It's very weird, especially like me having kids. I can sense like when they are going through something and they need to like, just whether it's more love or for them to feel more, I don't know, like protected or whatever for the day, I will like sit there and meditate, and my 3-year-old will go, I love you, mama. Like just right at that moment when I'm doing it, like right at that moment where I'm like, that's not a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy to see. And if we do have this informational matrix around us,
That's why
everyone,
telepathy is real.
exactly. Even animals, like to me, I'm like, people don't realize how it can make you go crazy. This is why you have to ground yourself too and live in the real world and really put grounding techniques, go put your feet in some grass, like, because you can lose your mind thinking about all these things all the time. But at the end of the
Yes.
day, being able to balance that spiritual understanding, that if you are not, that's why I like visualization, like chakra meditations, because when you realign them, if you're so stuck up in your crown chakra, you're not going to be able to be fruitful and find ways to make money and manifest in the reality, because you're not here in the reality. And I felt like it's been a battle for even my own self to very much like, I love understanding and reading all the esoteric texts and seeing all this knowledge and meditating, but I also have to physically be present and fold my laundry and vacuum my room and go play with my kids and go outside and put some sunlight on my eyes. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. I feel like a lot of times too, our subconscious though will lead us to be like, hey, like today we should probably go on a walk. And sometimes we try to ignore it because we're like, oh, but I got to do this or I got to do this. No, you need to go on that walk because your body knows what it needs. Even if it's not like verbally saying it, it is giving you those subconscious thoughts all the time to like, hey, you need some vitamin D or you're going to get sick pretty soon. Or, hey, like you're just, there's so many times where I'm like, people don't understand. We are being talked to all of the time through our own conduits, if you will. Sorry, I dropped the light.
No, you're good. We got another question.
Yeah.
Can y'all talk a little bit about feeling someone's biofield that you're interacting with at any moment, a person you've had emotional charged situations with, like family, and how to heal together? Ooh, good question.
So, I mean, like I said, the book Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, he does talk about how we can get to a state of being able to meditate without having to be like close your eyes and sitting there, which obviously that's the best way to get your brain to go into like I think it's gamma waves, because that's when you're in like almost like asleep. He talks about you can find a way to be in a meditative space after just practicing for a full week, an hour a day. If you do that, when I am just at work and I feel like I'm getting worked up, or like, let's say I'm nervous around a certain boss or whatever, even if it's a family member, If you start focusing, like I was saying earlier, on your heart space and immediately imagining that color green, but rooting yourself in love and focusing on that, immediately tensions will drop. Because obviously, if you are angry, that information field is sending it out immediately, like spurts of energy just to that other person. So even when you're in a heated conversation or whatever it may be, understanding that, like for me, understanding there's times where you can feel somebody is open to actually communicating versus when somebody is just like angry and they just want to get it all out. And this is why things like stoicism or understanding how to become very present in your own body and not giving the reaction that we immediately want to, that's like our trauma talking. Your first reaction is always going to be your trauma, you know, especially if it's like a heightened conversation about any type of topic. Immediately your first response is not going to be the response that your soulful self would give. So for me personally, if it's whether I'm at work, whether it's with my kids or somebody that I'm triggered by, meditating while I'm just standing there thinking about my heart space and envisioning that green light going into my heart space, that is the number one way to root yourself into that love, and that other person feels it. Now, whether they do something or not, but a lot of times it really will help them kind of calm down because you two are both now feeling, if you can regulate yourself to do it, it can. So there's the saying where it's like, if you hit a guitar string in a room, another guitar will start playing that same string. This is a study that they've done. Same thing whenever it talks about our heart fields. If your heart field can become coherent, it immediately starts to calm them down. And this is when people start to, you know, they'll walk off or they'll whatever. But at the end of the day, if you're having a heated conversation and you really need to work through it, whether it's because it's somebody that is important to you, understanding that if you're both wanting to get to a middle ground of something, you both need to be rooted in love about it, or you yourself, because you can't control anybody else, but you yourself have to be rooted in like, okay, how can I go about this in the most loving way? Or even like when we talk about manifesting, talking to somebody as if not like they're stupid, but talking to them as if they already understand. Because if you already talk to them like they already understand, you have a lot more compassion and they're a lot more likely to meet you in that middle ground space of actually understanding it, which is crazy to me because it's literally you are regulating other people by just regulating yourself and treating people like human beings instead of just giving out. Because a lot of times when we're angry or we have these spurts of anger, we're just talking out of our own trauma, you know, talking out of our own ass, just being like that because we have, everybody has their stuff, you know. But to me, I just feel like understanding that visualization and meditating are the number one ways to get your brain and your body to kind of calm down, regulate, and then that other person across from you will also be calming down and regulating too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I wrote on this too, I put thoughts influence emotions, influence physiology, and physiology influences your biofields. So even if you're having, this is why, even if in that book that I talked about, The Journey of Souls, they talk about like a lot of, without us understanding why, people know what you're thinking about them, even if they don't know what it is specifically. They know if it's something negative or positive or sexual. People know if you're thinking something about them, you know? And sometimes it's like we don't pick up on it right like instantly. But if people can feel that, your own brain doesn't know the difference between a real situation or a situation you're just telling yourself about. You know what I'm saying? So especially if you're stuck in those traumatic loops, it's as if that trauma is re-happening to you every single day. Or if like every time that you, this is why like to me, judgment, understanding that the more judgmental we are towards other people, the more we are giving out negative energy towards people. Not to say there's not situations that, you know, may require judging. What I'm saying is that if you are only a judgmental person, you are not giving out love. Nobody, when I'm at work, if every time that I like almost judge somebody, I'm like, nope, because you're not your first thought. I always say that too. You are actually the thought that comes after that. So immediately, if you can cut yourself and be like, okay, cut yourself off and be like, nope, we're not doing that. And so many times when I catch myself doing that, the person that I'm like talking to or whatever it may be, they open up to me. Like they can sense, like they'll tell me about all kinds of crazy stuff at work. I'm sure you experience it too, because you're a flight attendant. So you hear probably crazy stories of people all the time, but it's when you're open to it, people feel it more than they, you know. But I can just sense like when people, whether they're going through it or whatever the case may be, if I'm having a negative thought about somebody, they're less likely to open up to me. But if I'm rooting myself in love and like non-judgment, I could immediately, they'll start pouring out their whole lives, and I can just, I'm like, wow, this is, sometimes I wish I don't have to hear every single thing, but people love to talk. And sometimes
Oh
people
my gosh.
don't know when to stop talking. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's going through something. And if you don't have a therapist on payroll or anybody in your life that like just listens to you vent, you're going to talk to the next person that's listening. So whether you're on a flight or you're at a makeup store or whatever it is you're doing, you might tell somebody your whole life story when you're just there to get a friggin' foundation. And now I know about your husband and your ex and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like,
we call it jump seat therapy.
You have what?
We call it jump seat therapy as flight attendants. We all trauma dump on each other.
Exactly. I'm sure they're like probably giving you the worst story of their lives, or they know they're on a flight, so you have to sit there and you're stuck in the room. You can't walk away.
In a 4-point jump seatbelt in a 90-degree angle chair. Like, oh no, I have to see you again.
I'm so sorry. Try to just walk by them quickly, hand them a drink, and they're gonna stop you every time. Like, but it's good that we have people. Like, I feel like everybody, no matter what profession you're in, you can root yourself in your heart space, because sometimes you might be the only person that will listen to them. Sometimes you might be that space between them losing their fucking minds and calming down because you just sat there and you listened, you know, not even having to give advice. Sometimes people literally just need, nobody has great community anymore, right? In capitalism, with hyper individualization, we are dealing with so much like space from each other. You know, they want you to be in fear of your neighbor and be in fear of this or in fear of that. But understanding that actually more than ever, what is being asked of us is to becoming more community, which is what you're doing in your own space too. Just even in your personal life and your professional life, you're doing the same things. But it's just crazy to see how some people, they're just still so overwhelmed because what is going on in the world is horrific. A lot of it's 99% of the time. We get so caught up in that we forget, like, oh, I can still make a difference. And if I can help regulate other people, those people can help regulate those other people. That's why I like to research stuff. Exactly. Like the light bright board, like making a better picture for all of us as a whole. Because if we're just judgmental towards each other, not every time that I wanted to judge whether it was a situation of like just something on the news, like I'm like, okay, like I wonder what happened to lead up to that. You know what I'm saying? Especially, you know, main news sources, but in general, like, and when you hear about somebody harming somebody or whatever, a lot of times there's cycles involved. There's trauma, generational trauma involved, you know, not to give excuses, but you can see brain scans of people that are, you know, mass shooters, that their brains are not normal brains. You know what I'm saying? Like it is fucked up, you know? So to me, it's just understanding that everybody can make a difference, even in their own field, that your thoughts are holding those frequencies, that if you're thinking negatively about somebody or thinking negatively about yourself, it affects your field. And especially like, to me, I feel like when we're more quick to judge other people, people are quick to judge us. You know what I'm saying? If people feel, and you know, that's something we have to personally work through, is not be in fear if somebody's judging us, because at the end of the day, as long as you like who you are, who cares? Who cares what he, she, they, them? It doesn't matter what anybody says about you. What matters is how you feel about you at the end of the day, you know? So I put that on there too. Even talking about like how your DNA does the same thing. Your DNA actually emits biophotons, and it's a transmitter. What they're learning now, it's a transmitter and receiver of information, and it has light signals that responds to frequencies. So at the end of the day, like your light signals are communicating. So if you're having a thought about somebody, if you're having a thought about yourself, it's going to communicate with that biofield, with that reality. And it's constantly interacting though with other people, with environments, even understanding that what's crazy is there's patented technology that they can influence physiology. They can start doing, they were talking about trying to put, you know, ads inside of your dreams, like crazy patented technology that they're coming out with that are trying to really influence these fields that they try to not talk about with us, but are obviously very real. If they're trying to, if you follow the money with anything in this material world, you will always see that it leads to, there is something going on where they understand that we are energetic beings and they're trying to find ways to profit off of it, you know? And that's why people are so hyped up, because they know there's a lot of emerging technologies. People are finding out about these patents and they're like, oh my gosh, we have a biofield. Oh my gosh, they can, this is how you can have a thought. This is what really freaked people out when I started talking about this. You have a thought. You didn't even say it out loud, and that ad pops up on your phone. Or you open up the TikTok search bar after you just saw a TikTok, or you hadn't even said anything, and the first TikTok is about what you were just talking about. Yes, they can listen to it, but if you weren't even saying it out loud, like there's times where I'll have a thought and it'll pop up on my TV. How? And it is because we have now patented technology to read that toroidal fields in your brain, or even they're talking about using it for medical uses. So on one side, they're trying to say, oh, like, well, we could just scan your body from home and we can see what, why do we have so many different ads for specific pharmaceuticals, medicines, right? They could be scanning you and see something going on in your body that you might not even know about. You know what I'm saying? And give you an ad to be like, hey, here's some medicine that you might not, and you're gonna be like, what's that medicine for? You know what I'm
like
saying?
Plants,
Yeah,
plants
literally. And they don't even,
that's crazy.
and then there's it's about capitalism, but they're using our energetic field that they try to make it not seem like it's a woo-woo thing and it's not real. But actually they're trying to find ways to profit off of it right now as we speak. So people are freaking out about it, but that's why I'm like, the main thing you can do every day is you wake up, do some breath work, meditate, go inwards. Your field, scientifically, they are showing it strengthens. So I put at the end of at this part, I put, what does this all mean? Your biofield is a living informational projection of your inner state, which is embedded within the larger electromagnetic environment of Earth. We are all interconnected through this projection. One could say your biofield is your hologram projecting your physical body. When unhealed, it shows what has happened to you in the past. It shows your current physical, emotional, and spiritual state, and it can show future disturbances in your physical field before it happens, which, that's crazy.
That's a crazy. Talk to me about time travel.
Literally. So obviously there's different things that we talked about too, like the chakra system, which you're already doing stuff on that, but I just want to show people whenever you look, it goes, the first one, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. You got your root, your sacral, your solar plexus, your heart, your throat, your third eye, and then your crown, which scientifically they're showing now too, that it actually correlates with your endocrine glands. So it's not just like, oh, it's just like little energy centers. No, like these correlate with diseases. These correlate with your endocrine glands. This is how, if you have a blockage, a lot of times there's certain things, like if let's say, like for me personally, if you had any type of sexual trauma from childhood to now, your sacral chakra will be unblocked. It'll either be overactive or underactive, because that's what happens. You either get turned completely off from anything physical, or you get turned on by a lot of things, and it becomes an addiction. So understanding that, for me personally, having a lot of like reproductive issues, having just like a lot of like lust in general, that is an overactive sacral chakra. You know what I'm saying? Each one has its own thing that people can go and look into, which you're also doing your chakra reset, which people can go and do. But I just thought it's so interesting to understand that each one could correlate to physical issues happening within the body. And then talking about too, like whenever I was saying that there's new technology that is being patented too, understanding that like what they're saying now is, with all of the things that are going on, whether it's like Palantir and crazy things like that, there are certain things that steps you can take, that they have realized that like at nighttime, you can turn off your Wi-Fi, or you can get an EMF bag for your phone, because they're also talking about how like even when a man and a woman, when they're trying to have a baby, they tell the husband to not put the phone in his pocket, because they've done studies that it can kill the sperm cells within a man just having his phone in his pocket from the EMF
what
frequencies.
It does to us.
Exactly. Even learning about whenever there's like IVF centers where if they're not allowed to wear perfume, they're not allowed to burn candles, because it can make the egg get distorted. I'm like, that's crazy to learn that the chemicals in our food, the chemicals in our everything has something. You know what I'm saying? So if there's one thing you can do for free, is strengthen your field. It's strengthening your even in the Heart Math Institute, they talk about the heart brain coherence, where you breathe 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, and you do that for 5 minutes, doing it over and over, slow breaths. They see that it makes your heart and your brain cohere, right? And it heightens your immune system to where you're less likely to even get sick, which is crazy to me. If we're dealing with all this stuff, at the end of the day, understanding that you have so much more control than they want you to believe, and whether technology is bombarding you, no matter what it is, there's free resources you can use every single day, no matter what it is you think or feel, that can regulate you, strengthen your biofield. It doesn't have to be some $1,000 machine, because there is actually machines too that if people are interested, there's tuning forks that I've got really interested in the last year and a half. Love them. And it's crazy because you hit the tuning fork and you can go around your own field, and you'll be able to feel it vibrating when it hits a like splotch where it touches it, and you're like, oh my gosh, like it's weird. It's like having a wand in your hand. Like there is something right there. Like you could feel it, and they say the best way to use it is obviously when you hit it and you find that you're bringing it back to wherever subconsciously you're going to kind of know which energy center that it relates to, and you bring it back like a wand, like you're bringing your energy back to yourself, which is crazy. Because also, if we talk about intentions, even just saying I call my power back to me from every person, place, and thing, that's something that people say, especially if you're just feeling drained and you don't know why.
Words are powerful.
Exactly. They're spelling, and so right here I just put, there's many theorized ways to help strengthen your biofield, but with emerging technology and in the hands of those who want to help, they've been studying these verifiable ways. Don't underestimate the power of your thoughts, your breath, and your intention. The main things that I talk about and that I practice myself daily is meditation, breath work, and visualization. So studies, they show that meditation directly influences that biofield, with it being like electromagnetic. When it gets coherent, you meditating makes it immediately just get coherent. Even if you took 20 minutes a day, it's going to be more coherent. But especially if you can get into those higher brain states, those brain waves, it will become a lot more robust. So setting aside an hour, because sometimes it takes you about 20 minutes to really get into like deep, to where it feels like you're almost asleep, but you're not. One of those, but also meditating can help, like further being proved by like EEG scans, go from those alpha waves to those gamma waves. It also activates your vagus nerve system and reduces your cortisol, lowers inflammation, improves your digestion, improves your heart rate. For free. For free. You don't got to take 20 pills. It's for free. Even talking about meditation influences your gene expression. So meaning like inflammation markers or cellular repair. The more you meditate and work through things for yourself, actually, you could be healing generations worth of trauma just because you are working on it yourself. You could be helping heal your children, helping heal people around you by just working on that meditation yourself. And then I talked about too on here, physically, it improves your heart rate and your brain waves, and it lowers your stress, and it can balance your chakras, especially if you're using visualization too, where you're imagining those colors as you're meditating on it as well. And you could do this as many times as you wanted to throughout the day, especially just the visualization part. That's easy. Breath work and meditation's hard if you're in like, a business setting or you're at work, but you could set aside a time for 20 minutes in the morning or an hour at night to really do this and just see the improvements in your own life. For me personally, I used to have so much anxiety, even just going to the store or public speaking. I don't feel that way anymore. Like it has been, I would say a miracle, but it's not. It's just the science of our energy and how it works. When you really go inwards, you realize like, why was I afraid to be seen? Or why was I afraid? Even talking on TikTok about the stuff I talk about, I used to only post like, I don't know, just like funny videos or makeup videos or things that I thought were trendy. And then I research this stuff all the time, and I talk to real people in real life that I'm close with. And they're like, have you ever thought about like starting a podcast or talking about this like to other people? I'm just like, for a long time, I was just very afraid, like people are going to think I'm crazy. I just had to let go of that fear of being seen as crazy, because people are going to think I'm crazy whether I talk about it or not. People are going to feel a way. It doesn't matter. Let people feel how they want to feel. I could care less. I'm to a point now to where those who want to hear will hear it. You know what I'm saying? And those who don't want to hear it won't hear it. They'll feel repelled by me. If you are really living in your authentic self, you're either going to magnetize people that are supposed to be around you or deflect people away that are not supposed to be around you. And so to me, I'm just understanding that, like, I could see that difference within a few months of me really trying to meditate, really helped with just my issues of being seen or being confident in myself. Like, people be like, oh, like, you're so pretty, you're so nice. I'm like, am I? Like, like, why am I questioning myself? Like, because those are my own fears, my own traumas that were stuck inside of me for such a long time that, like, okay, like, everybody should, there's a saying where it's like, nobody's better than me and I'm not better than anybody. And that's how everybody should live, to where you understand that you are not better than the next person, but nobody's also better than you, and you should have confidence in that. You know what I'm saying? So I put on here too, the 4-7-8 breathing method. That's a good one. You inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale for 8. The heart brain coherence method, that's good too. Breath work is super powerful, especially because it can help like regulate your nervous system, especially when I was like in college and I was doing like, I took 2 years of college. I want to get back into it at some point whenever financially I'm able. But whenever I have to do like presentation in front of a whole class, I'd feel my heart rate start going up and I would like start sweating. I would start doing breath work, and immediately I was like, oh, okay, like I can do this. And I would go and talk in front of everybody, and I felt like I could talk like this, but in a room full of people I didn't know, because I was regulated and I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm about to talk in front of a room full of people. And then also I put on here how your attention changes your body and your brain activity. So like I was saying, that visualization, if your attention is always on the negative and you're not coming back to your body and coming back to yourself every time, you're going to keep having negative experiences in your informational field download into your reality, because you're focusing on that all the time. Not to say like there's certain people that have been through extensive amount of trauma and it's going to take years to get up to that point whenever it's super deep embedded into them, but that's why you need to do EMDR therapy, do EFT tapping, do that meditation every single day, do all of these things, because eventually you will get to a point to where you will feel like you are living in that soulful self and you are creating your reality instead of just living through it, And then what was, my last and final slide that I had. I put, the biofield is not just something that's magical. It's electromagnetic, piezoelectric, and it's luminous. We as humans are the magical creatures that are conduits for our own reality. We create our own reality, sometimes without even realizing it. But you could be here to heal generations of trauma stored in your own family's DNA, because by healing your genetic expressions, your thoughts, your emotions, and your body are healing you and your ancestors too. We have so much more power to heal and stay present with our most soulful self, but it takes getting into your own subconscious, becoming aware that we are consciousness in matter, and how we use that consciousness actually drives our reality to unfold in front of us. So the only books that I say for everybody to read, The Energy Codes, Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And if you want to kind of learn more of like the esoteric sense of why, like what people in ancient times used to say about it, The Secret Teaching of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. He goes through and he talks about so many things about like what each of these groups, like mystery schools, every religion, all of these spiritual like sects of esotericism, they all talk about what I'm talking about right now without like the science part. They're talking about it more so just like in the spiritual realms. So if I could suggest anything to everybody, for free, meditate, go on to the Patreon of yours for the Academy of Love and Light, or the Academy of Logic and Light, because to me, I'm like, there's so many good resources, like even the 70 free journal prompts. Like, start somewhere. You don't have to go to years worth of therapy. Yes, get your foot in the door if you can afford it. Start doing some EMDR therapy if it's really traumatic stuff. You know what I'm saying? But for free, there is so many resources and people like you that are out there, people like me that are talking about this, just because we know what we've gone through, and how we can help is by using our voices, sharing what we do know. Because at the end of the day, like, we are all just walking each other home. We're all going to pass at some point. And if we could do one thing to help somebody heal, even if I help one person become more aware of their own reality, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So I'm glad you had me on. I'm glad like we found each other, because I also feel like you are such a good inspiration. Just all the things that you're doing too, like in general, like whether it's you're doing your token society right now, just building your own Patreon, just trying to bring other people awareness in different categories, whether it's astrology, chakras, like so many things that people, I feel like everybody's searching for something right now. And a lot of people want to go inwards, but they don't know where to start. And all of these things relate, as above, so below. What's going on in astrology is what's going on within us as a collective, whether politics or in ourselves, So I just feel like it's so important for us to realize, like, to make a change out there, we all have to start in here. So many people think that it has to be, some grandiose gesture. They got to go to bat for war, whatever it is. At the end of the day, you going inward is the most pivotal thing that we can all do, And I think the more you do stuff like this, I do stuff like this, you're finding these groups of people, these communities of people that are like-minded too, because you're putting that frequency out there and it's attracting other frequencies that are like-minded, So I'm grateful that you had me on, and I'm glad that I could yap for an hour and 15 minutes about it all.
Anytime.
But I hope I was able to get across the basics at least,
Oh my gosh.
At least just to get people to see like where they can start.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I put in the comments, if anyone has questions, like we can stay open for a few more minutes and answer any questions. It takes sometimes a minute for it to come out. But I thought at the end, maybe we could do like an energy clearing, like a biofield clearing together. Yeah. As we're like closing out, I like to like close out my energy field at the end of the day after I've interacted with a lot of people, whether it's online or in person. Just kind of the exact same concept of waking up in the morning. I like to start my day and close my day with clearing my energy fields, because I do things on my astral world that I don't
Yeah.
want to bring into my daytime world.
Day
And I
world,
do
yeah.
things in my day world that I don't want to
That
bring
you don't
into
want
my
to bring into
nighttime
your
world.
astral world. I understand. Yeah.
It makes my life a lot easier to do 2 energy clearings a day. So we can do that at the end. But I did
Yeah.
want to talk briefly, besides, like, you can find more information about Taylor below and her podcast. And she has so many interesting things to say. And hopefully she'll come back. Hopefully you guys have been good
A
enough.
lot of interesting things. A lot of topics.
So many good things. But down below, you can find our Patreon. We are just starting. It's bare bones minimum, but there's different ways that you can support us. We are working right on a pretty massive project. Not everything I can completely disclose, but you can find out more information about the app that we're building, the men's programs that we're building, the women's programs that we're building, the in-between programs that we're building, the rage portal that I'm building, the 9-week chakra reset program. There's a ton of free resources. And if you're interested in being a practitioner or coming on and having one of these talks, or being a teacher, doing a workshop event or something, or building your practice out through us, come check us out on the Patreon. Sign up for the practitioner portal. You can have I'll go ahead and say you can have a month for free. The password to the practitioner app is team, TEAMS. And you can get the first month for free. Just come see who we are, what we're about. You can kind of see our contracts, our ethics. Check out our website, academyoflogicandlight.com. We are a community built on ethics and community and empowering each other. We believe that the students are teachers when teachers are students, but we empower all students to become masters, and we're all in this together, and there's no hierarchy. We're a donation-based program, and we're building in some memberships so we can do cooler shit. But like this and other things. And then tomorrow there's this week alone, we've done 3 live streams in a row. Yesterday was quantum astrology with Tom, Major Tom. Fantastic. He goes all the way up and covers until July 24th of the Cosmic Forecast. Today with Taylor. And then tomorrow we've got Astrology Embodied with our L. And we're going to be talking about attachment styles and where Venus sits in your chart. So those will be exciting.
Ooh, Venus.
And they're free.
For free.
And also, we have 4 free gut health classes in our videos. We also have 7 chakra and science videos in here. We have over 50 free astrology videos, a bunch of tarot. We do things in English, Spanish, Portuguese is coming. There's a lot. Yeah.
She's got a lot of free resources. You can pick something to start on. At least pick one category and then go from there,
Yes, there's something.
Especially the chakra, because I feel like a lot of people are interested in what are, it sounds woo-woo, but now the more that people are understanding the science of it, it's very real. It relates to our physical vessel, it's not just out here, it's there,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to blend science and spirituality in my little community. We're for the logical, we're for the light, we're for the empowering. So come hang out, come check it out. There's a bunch of cool stuff happening. But if we're waiting for any other questions, if you guys want to do an energy clearing, I'll ask everyone to get centered, put your feet on the floor. And we'll take a few breaths together and just do a little visualization. And if this is for you, cool. And if it's not, that's okay too. But a little visualization never hurt anybody. And neither did breathing. All right. We'll have everyone close your eyes. Make sure that your back is straight, feet on the floor. Relax your shoulders. Take a breath from the base of your spine and pull it all the way up. Release. And when you're releasing it, visualize sending that energy back down into the ground. But coming up through your body and then projecting out of your mouth into the ground. Another breath in. And then with this breath, we're going to pull the energy halfway up into our heart center. And we're going to hold the breath there. And hold that energy there. And just put a pin in it. And then with our next breath, we're going to connect that energy all the way up through our crown chakra and up to source. Just visualizing connecting up your antenna to a white light source energy that is pure, And then pulling that energy all the way down through your chakras, crown, third eye, throat, holding it into your heart chakra, meeting with that energy that you've pinned in there before, and then on your breath out, sending it outwards like a donut. We can do another breath. Hold it, bring it in halfway from your feet. Hold it in the heart center. Bring in another breath from the top into the heart center. And breathe out, expanding, releasing anything in your field. Make sure that you're checking your field behind you, above you, 6 feet out in every direction like a donut. And then we'll do one more breath and we'll open our eyes together. So one more breath into the heart chakra, sitting right in between our chest. Next breath, come in, pull it in above. And then let's expand out. Shake it out, get it out of your physical body, send it out of your biofield. And when you're ready, shake it out, come back to center, open your eyes. Say a little gratitude, invite that good energy back into your field after we've released anything that doesn't serve us. And we thank you for coming tonight, for participating, for commenting, for sharing, liking, being a part of our community. We thank Taylor for showing up. And it's amazing. Like my whole body, I'm just so excited.
I'm glad. I'm so glad. You're such a good person too. Like I'm glad we got to meet each other too, and just seeing what you're doing. You're doing great. You're right where you're supposed to be. You're on track. I can't wait to just see where this goes. If we do this again, I'd be glad to come back on.
Yay. Yay. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you everyone for watching. We will see you guys soon.